What up, YouTube? Checking in here on Sunday, July 7th, doing one more video here at East Eddy Ranch before I head back home tomorrow because, of course, all sorts of breaking news right now, including Jeffrey Epstein's arrest. A lot of details that I want to share with you on that and thoughts of mine on that situation. Also want to give you an update to the sealed court record count. Don't think I mentioned that on this channel in a little bit, but nevertheless, it's a new month. The individuals that are keeping up with that count are still doing it, and that number is still rising. So I'm going to give you that number. We'll talk about it. And then I want to talk about also a lot of comments that President Trump has been making on topics all across the board, including the Federal Reserve, including UFOs. So we're going to cover a lot of those comments that the president's been making. And lastly, I have two articles to cover. One is a mainstream media hit piece on vaccines, and another is, of course, a mainstream media hit piece on MMS. We'll deconstruct those and figure out what the truth is there. So that's that. That's the itinerary for this one. Sit back, enjoy the show. Let's get started. First of all, shout out to a sponsor of this channel, NOBLEGOLD. If you haven't checked out their new commemorative Q coin at greatawakeningcoin.com, go check it out. I've had a lot of people message me telling me that they're a huge fan. They love these Q coins that they've been getting. And I don't know if I've mentioned this in recent videos, but if you actually go to that website and enter in my name, just Jordan, you can actually get $5 off 2 coins. So you can get one to yourself and you can get one to pass off to a friend or a family member. So there you go. Check out that website, greatawakeningcoin.com. Link will be below and that promo code will be below as well. All right, now let's get into Jeffrey Epstein's arrest. When I saw this news last night, I had to verify. At first, I didn't believe it because I saw it breaking on the mainstream media, and it took me a few minutes, but found out that yes, it was true. Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in New Jersey yesterday by the NYPD FBI Crimes Against Children Task Force. Huge right there. Crimes Against Children Task Force, FBI and the NYPD right there. He was arrested following a return from France. Flew back home from France on a private jet and they arrested him. And the charges are for sex trafficking of minors from 2002 to 2005. So this is sex trafficking of minors. New charges being brought against Jeffrey Epstein. This is just absolutely massive, okay? Now, here's a few thoughts of mine and a few details going through this that I've just hadn't seen since this broke yesterday. Number one, I'm wondering if the recent NYPD, quote, suicides, we have 4 or 5 individuals that have committed mysterious suicides in the NYPD in recent weeks. I'm wondering if these are connected in some way to these arrests, these indictments that are breaking in the New York district there. So intriguing. I'm wondering if they're connected. I'm wondering if the deep state was just trying to avoid this or avoid their inevitable downfall in some way. How about that Hillary Clinton appearance that she was supposed to do in October that she recently canceled? I'm wondering if the Clintons and many of these deep state cabal folk know that this arrest might soon turn into many arrests. So Hillary Clinton canceled her public appearance in October that she was supposed to make there in D.C. They running? In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the Clintons or other individuals close to them started claiming medical issues or claiming health problems soon, to avoid the prosecution and slip out of the public awareness. And also, we need to keep some keen eyes on that prosecution. I saw a piece of data saying that it was James Comey's daughter has actually been named as a prosecutor on this case. James Comey's daughter. So we need to keep very keen eyes on this whole situation, how this court case unveils. Being there in the Southern District of New York as well, I'm hoping there's not any sort of crooked prosecutors or crooked judges in on this case. But of course, because of how many citizen journalists are out there now, there's going to be so many eyes on this. So I don't think any sort of ridiculous antics can be had by the deep state on this one. But nevertheless, eyes open on all that. And how about Trump's flubs earlier in the week? And by flubs, I mean on Twitter, he misspelled Air Force One as Aircraft One, and then during his 4th of July speech, he messed up a little bit. He was talking about the Army in the 1800s and mentioned that the Army was taking over airports. So there's an aircraft misspelled in his tweet, and airports sort of mismentioned in his speech. I'm wondering if he was sort of alluding to the fact that Jeffrey Epstein would be arrested as he got off his aircraft at the airport in some way. So I'm wondering if those were some sort of subtle messages that he was putting out there, just intriguing dots connecting in my head with all this. And lastly, the mainstream media is trying to drag Donald Trump down with Epstein. I'm seeing a lot of headlines in the mainstream media just today saying that Trump pal Jeffrey Epstein, or Trump is in some way connected to Jeffrey Epstein. They're just trying to muddy the waters as much as they can at this point and get ahead of the story. I believe it was the Daily Beast that first reported on it, and then it quickly moved through a lot of mainstream media. They're just doing what they can to manage the narrative with all this. So we need to be very action-oriented. We need to be out there sharing the information that, Jeffrey Epstein was actually banned from Mar-a-Lago because Trump found out that Jeffrey Epstein was basically hitting on or sexually assaulting young women there. So this is stuff that we need to share as citizen journalists to get the more true narratives out there and not let the mainstream media take control of it all. But that's all I have on the Jeffrey Epstein situation right now. As I get home, I'll be able to research a lot more of this and share more on it. But those are just a few details and a few thoughts in my mind. Let's keep close eyes on this, who's involved in the prosecution, and not let the mainstream media control that narrative with all of this. But nevertheless, I would imagine that a lot of arrests are coming this year. It's going to be very fun to track all of this. So now let's get into the sealed court records that I want to share with you. That new number that we have is 106,502 sealed court records from across the country. And quick point on that, I'm not calling them sealed indictments anymore because some of these could be court records for other things that are still sealed. And as Q mentioned in a post in recent months, not all of these cases are USA versus some unnamed individual. So a little more logical, a little more detail-oriented to call it sealed court records, but nevertheless, 106,000, that number is still growing by over 5,000 about per month. And this has been going on for 20 months. You would think if these were just routine matters, that these would get sealed and unsealed in a short time, and this number would not continuously grow. So, big news there. Definitely sharing it here. Now, let's get into some of those cryptic statements that President Trump has been making on various topics recently. Number one, how about Trump offering cryptic detail after Mike Pence cancels New Hampshire trip? So, last week, very mysterious situation. Mike Pence was supposed to travel on Air Force 2 to New Hampshire, but as he was getting on the plane, they canceled his trip. We don't know why. President Trump actually said that we're going to know in about 2 weeks, and it was a very interesting problem there in New Hampshire. That's all he said on the situation. So, eyes on this, 2 weeks, we might find out what happened. I'm very interested to see what Mike Pence might be really about. We'll see if Mike Pence will be there for the second term or not. And I know a lot of people still have the question in their minds, is Mike Pence a white hat? Is he a black hat? For me in particular, I have no idea. I just haven't researched into that enough to draw a conclusion in my own head. So myself, I'm interested to see what we're going to learn about that New Hampshire trip and about Mike Pence. And then Trump's comments on the Federal Reserve. So Trump tweeting, hitting at the Federal Reserve yet again, saying the Federal Reserve is the most difficult problem facing America right now. Never in my life would I have thought to see a president of the United States go against the Federal Reserve, which of course is not federal. It's a private entity outside of governmental oversight. So it's great. It's great that our president is attacking the Federal Reserve because the Federal Reserve has raised interest rates 7 times. 7 times during Donald Trump's presidency. And if that wouldn't have happened, our economy would be much, much higher than it is right now. And I mean, our economy is already gaining speed. So just imagine where we would be at if the Federal Reserve wasn't trying to stifle everything. So no doubt, Donald Trump attacking the Federal Reserve right now, as he has every right to do. And I'm very intrigued to see what's going to happen over the next couple of years. As Q said, gold is going to end the Fed. I think bringing back a gold standard and really trying to restructure that Federal Reserve is going to be a second-term issue for President Trump. And I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with all that. And then one last Trump comment to talk about his opinion on UFOs. So, Tucker Carlson aired an interview that he did with Donald Trump, or basically aired what wasn't aired before with that interview of DJT, and they actually aired the question that Tucker asked Donald Trump about UFOs. And Donald Trump has been navigating this situation beautifully. He has to tiptoe it right now, okay? You got to understand, if Donald Trump were to openly discuss the reality of UFOs, what that would do is it would feed a lot of energy to the deep state, limited hangout, partial disclosure UFO initiative that I've been reporting on for so long. Basically, everything we're seeing in the mainstream media right now regarding UFOs, that the To the Stars Academy, Tom DeLonge is spearheading, connected to Harry Reid, John Podesta, etc., etc. I mean, it's totally deep state fingerprints all over it. Donald Trump doesn't want to legitimize that deep state UFO disclosure, so he's kind of tiptoeing this. He's saying, oh, I don't really believe it. But at the same time, he doesn't want to lie to the public. Of course, there's a lot of information on UFOs that I'm sure the Alliance or the White Hats, they want to get out of the public. They just have to be really careful doing it right now. And Donald Trump, you know, he's not throwing it all out. He goes, yo, I guess anything's possible, basically. But he basically says, I'm not a believer. So like I said, he's navigating this beautifully. He's not giving any energy or legitimacy to the deep state UFO disclosures, but he's still keeping it open for the public to scratch their heads and question and not writing it all off, which is great. So there's that right there. And I like the fact that he said this answer to Tucker Carlson. You know, George Papadopoulos was asking him about UFOs in the White House during their interview a few weeks ago, and George Papadopoulos does not deserve an honest answer about that particular question. So Trump more sidestepped him, gave Tucker Carlson a little bit more open of an answer here. That's something that I noticed with this. And, you know, a lot more Space Force is going to be discussed by Donald Trump. Space, secret space programs, bringing these technologies out, I would imagine, is one of the top priorities of the alliance of this presidential administration. And we could see a lot more of that, again, in Trump's second term as well. So, good news with that. And then last couple articles that I had to share with you. Number one on vaccines. This says here, scientists claim to have developed the world's first vaccine with artificial intelligence. Does that sound good in any way, shape, or form? No, it does not. An AI-developed vaccine, and get this, they're calling it a, quote, turbocharged flu vaccine. So whatever AI program they developed went through and it created some sort of like turbocharged flu vaccine. Psh, I ain't injecting that. I truly hope that you don't inject that. And I truly hope that you don't really inject any of these vaccines. I don't care if it's made by humans, made by AI. They're all bunk. They're all just horribly toxic. And what? An AI developing a vaccine, they're going to try to inject nanobots in you, some sort of nanoparticles. Actually, many vaccines out there already have nanoparticles in them. Some tests have found that. Little do these scientists, doctors, many of these people even know that nanoparticles are in them, among many other toxic compounds. So that's just creepy stuff, man. Creepy stuff. They're trying to sell vaccines in any way, shape, or form they can to the public right now because so many people are waking up and questioning the vaccines. So that's why we're seeing vaccines, so much propaganda about them in the mainstream media every day, and that's also why I'm talking about it on this channel as much as I can. And then last hit piece on natural health we have, this one by Business Insider. Business Insider has basically been the mainstream media outlet, the one they are going to attack MMS, to attack chlorine dioxide. Remember, YouTube censored, they deleted my video on MMS a few months ago. It was actually one of the most popular videos on YouTube about chlorine dioxide, and I was discussing it truthfully. So the deep state is using Business Insider as their mainstream media mouthpiece to attack MMS. And this is just awful. Again, they're calling it a toxic bleach. They're saying it's scientifically worthless, just a lot of fake propaganda. If MMS was toxic bleach, or chlorine dioxide was toxic bleach, how can you buy potable water tablets with the active ingredient being chlorine dioxide at REI on Amazon? How is there a market out there that a lot of pharmaceutical companies are invested in for chlorine dioxide as a disinfectant, right? It's only called a toxic bleach by the FDA and by the lying mainstream media. So you can understand what they're trying to do with your brain right there. So there's a lot more you can research on chlorine dioxide and MMS. I would imagine that this academic, this doctor here who lost his title after his study was branded scientifically worthless, his study was likely very scientifically sound. They just stripped him of his title. They basically Andrew Wakefielded this guy. You know, he does a good study, starts getting some information out there, and they go, oh crap, we can't have that. Pull the study, pull his title, defame him in the media. So this German scientist that's using MMS is getting Andrew Wakefielded here. And in fact, when I get home, I'm just going to go live. I'm going to go live on my YouTube channel right here. I'm going to mix up, explain MMS, drink it on camera, show the world that it's not a toxic bleach and it's nothing what they say it is, what the lying mainstream media and FDA say it is. So that's all I have for you guys here. Jeffrey Epstein arrest, big news, much more coming with that. New update to the sealed court records. A lot of Trump comments lately that are very good comments. And then, boom, mainstream media hit pieces on vaccines and MMS. They wouldn't be doing that. They wouldn't be trying to censor and lie so much in the mainstream media right now if they weren't so desperate. So boom, thank you so much for you guys for watching. I'll be home very soon, getting back to a lot more content. Take care, you guys. Be back with more. Done.